The podcast is coming back, and I call this probably season 2, although all of the previous episodes were so many, I don't think I can call them season 1, but yeah, it was a hiatus. This is season 2. So for the audio listeners, you probably wondering why the audio quality is like this. I'm sitting in my car and recording this vlog style just like on my second channel, the Bow -2 TWO. Because I just got a little bit of time and I already scheduled a podcast for next week, so I'm a little bit in a rush to record this announcement that the podcast is coming back. And I kind of want to explain myself and explain what is coming up in this new season of the podcast. So first and foremost, yes, I went on a hiatus, and the reason was actually that I always felt a little bit bad for my guests in a way that there weren't a lot of views. You see, I live in Germany, and whenever I schedule a date with a guest, most of them either live in USA and in a very completely different time zone than I am, or in Asia, and scheduling always meant some weird flexing in our scheduling time, but also it meant that those guests had to take out at least an hour, sometimes 1.5 hours out of their busy day, either early in the morning, late at night, or on the weekend where they usually have precious family time. And I was so thankful, or I am always so thankful that they take the time. And don't get me wrong, none of them kind of blamed me or made me feel terrible about this. This is just something that I felt for myself. I was like, oh, they took so much time out of their precious day, and then I upload that podcast and only a few people listen to that podcast. And on my last podcast, I actually had a one-on-one comparison, and I also don't blame Aaron from Nomads Nation. It was an eye-opener for me, but also something that discouraged me a little bit. We both interviewed the same person and uploaded basically each of our podcasts at more or less the same time. And he was able to get like over 1,000 of views and listen on that podcast episode, while I only had like 200. And while it is 200 listens is still a lot, and I don't want to complain about that, especially with this analogy that I always bring where I say, oh, imagine if your video only has like 20 views, and imagine those 20 people sitting in your living room. Your living room would be full, and all of those people in your living room are listening to you. That is such an eye-opening and mind-blowing thought, and that is why I think 200 people is still a lot, but comparison is the thief of joy, and I compared my podcast to the one from Aaron, and I was really A, discouraged, and B, I felt really bad. I felt like I was letting my guests down. Again, no one was blaming me for that. And I just felt bad. I thought, oh, these people are taking so much time out of their schedule, sometimes late at night or really early in the morning just to meet the time difference. And I really felt bad about that. That is the reason why I put it on hiatus. Plus, I was doing those podcasts 2 times per month for 2 years, and I felt like the podcast didn't grow at all. That discouraged me a lot. And so I thought, okay, let's go on a hiatus. But after these few months, I noticed, I'm missing it. I'm missing talking to other creators, talking about this kind of stuff. And also, when I started my daily vlog, talking to the camera and basically talking to some of you, it was this kind of journaling, documentation and talking to camera is very, it's good for my mind in a way. And so I decided to bring it back. And now I kind of want to talk about what I have planned. What I will do right now is, I don't want to stress out myself. I'm not going to do a schedule where I say, oh, every 2 weeks there will be a podcast episode, because that was stressing me out a little bit. I already have a lot on my plate with the main channel, but also with daily vlogging, because this daily vlogging thing, I enjoy it so much. I don't want to kind of put that away. So I'm not going to stress myself out with a schedule for these podcasts. So I will try to do them at least once per month, but I don't want to promise anything. Maybe sometimes I have more episodes per month, but I'm not going to kind of have a schedule. I know that will kind of influence the growth of the podcast, but that is also something that I want to kind of remind myself of. These podcasts, just like my daily vlogs, those things, that type of content is predominantly for me. I enjoy them so much. I don't want to chase numbers. I don't want to chase growth with these. I want to do them because I enjoy them. And that is why I'm not going to pressure myself with a schedule. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I really don't want to be too much heavily reliant on guests in a way where I feel bad that they take time out of their day and kind of balance those scheduling time differences. So I will create 2 to 3 formats for this podcast. The first one is obviously the interviewing guests, and that will be something where I can try to balance my schedule. But I also want to do podcasts that I can do by myself, and those will be essay style podcasts. For example, I'm thinking of Why Everyday Carry is somewhat of a title that I'm thinking of. Why is everyday carry so important? Why, or what it is, and why not many people consciously, I think everyone in our lives has an everyday carry. Phone, wallet, keys is an everyday carry, but they don't consciously think about it. Why do people have everyday carry, and why it is a great thing to think consciously about that? So that is an essay style podcast that I'm thinking about. Also an essay style podcast about best clothing for traveling and stuff like that. So that's the type of podcast that I'm really excited about to do in the future as well. And next up, that is something Ron Kwok from Living Purposely. He's also going to be the first guest on this podcast next week. I record that next week, not sure when it will come out. He said like, hey, why don't you live stream again? And I've done a lot of live streams, or not a lot. I've done live streams in the past and I really enjoyed it, but I always found it difficult to kind of balance the time zones. But he also said like, just do it and just vibe with it. And I probably will do that as well. I will probably do live streams and make those podcast episodes as well. So probably do live stream Q&As and then create podcast episodes. I just don't know how to kind of do those live streams, because from my experience, when I start a live stream, the first like 10 to 15 minutes, no one is there to ask me questions. So I kind of need to think about how to fill those 10 to 15 minutes with questions, maybe via Instagram or YouTube comments, fill those minutes with questions. So yeah, I have a full, hopefully interesting episode. Not sure if that actually will translate from live stream to a podcast episode, but that is something that I want to do as well, just to have some variety in this podcast. So this, season 2 of the Ismono podcast hopefully will have a couple of topics, guests and variety that you will enjoy. And I my Riverside, if you don't know, that is the subscription software that I need to pay for these podcasts if I am doing those with a guest. It's running out in November, but I decided to bring back the podcast, so I will pay my subscription fee for another year, and also my distributing thing for the podcast might run out soon as well. Not sure. I would love to know from you. Are you listening via a podcast app, or are you listening to the podcast on YouTube? Because right now I'm paying for the podcast to be accessible via podcasting apps. But if most of you say, oh, I'm going to listen to it on YouTube only anyways, maybe I cancel that subscription and not have the podcast accessible anymore via iTunes and Spotify anymore. Not sure. Let me know what you think about that. And yeah, maybe I will cancel that. I don't know yet. Let's see. What do you think about that? I would love to hear your comments about season 2 of this podcast. Let me know in the comment section on this YouTube video, or if you're listening, maybe drop by on the YouTube video as well and tell me what you think about this. And yeah, I'm really excited about this. Again, probably don't know when the next episode will be live, so don't forget to subscribe. Maybe check out the last podcast that I've made in the video up here. YouTube thinks that you like the podcast episode down here, and maybe help me to get to 70,000 subscribers by clicking the subscribe button up here. I see you in the podcast. Thank you very much.